What's going on, internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. The Logitech G Cloud is one of my favorite handhelds for game streaming. In fact, it is my favorite handheld for game streaming, and if you've seen my videos before, you know how much I really like this thing. But after my last video, this has been taken over partly by my family, and so things aren't quite set up the way that I want them to be set up on this handheld anymore. But Logitech did just come out with a new software update and some things I wanted to try out. And so what we're going to do here is we're just going to set up a brand new Logitech G Cloud and go through and set it up. And I'm going to show you some of the streaming options that I like to use and some personalization so I know which one is mine. Let's take a look. Logitech did send me this G Cloud for the purpose of review or whatever else I want to do with it, as they didn't give me any direction I had to go, which is great. No money has exchanged hands for this content, and Logitech will not see it prior to anybody else because this will be published to everybody at the same time, and so they get no input on what I put into this. And today, we're just going to have a little fun with it. I am pretty excited about this, to have something of my own, because as a parent, you learn that you lose everything that belongs to you. So to be fair, I will probably lose this as well, but let's enjoy it while we can. This here is the boxing for the Logitech G Cloud. I don't think I ever did an unboxing when I got the original one, but here we go. And it smells like a freshly sealed box. All right, let's get into it and see what we got going on here. I really don't remember the unboxing experience, so this will be fun for all of us. Oh, yes, I do remember it. Yes, okay, so this is really nice. It is a good presentation, and this isn't plastic, which is nice. That just helps you know that it is a more valuable product. You probably shouldn't have picked it up by that, but that's okay, and I believe if nothing else, there's just a charger in here. Oh, more than a charger. Just kidding. Okay, it's a really complicated box, apparently. Whoop! There we go. And we do have a Type A to Type C charger in the box. We got sheet music for our origami accordion. This accordion actually plays this way, though. Alright, so we got sheet music for it, so that's pretty dope. And this really just kind of goes over... Oh, there we go. Look at that. We should have used the other one for the sheet music. We'll see if we can edit that. Probably won't work. And this just kind of goes through plugging it in and setting it up. Cool. Alright, let's get this stuff out of the way. Ooh, a nice, fresh handheld. I've kept mine in really good shape. It is getting in less and less shape all the time as my kids play with it, but that's just part of having kids. So this will be nice to have one that's just all nice and shiny and all of my own. And I really did want to make this my own and really make it stand out so that everybody knew that this one was mine. And some of the things that I ordered for it arrived. Most did not. But one of the things that I ordered, which was a one of two kind of thing, I was going to decide which of the two I was going to use, but now this is the one I'm using because it's the only one that showed up. I have a skin for it. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm kind of into tattoos, and this is like the known old school tattoos kind of printed into a skin that will go right here on the G Cloud. I don't think there'll be any problem differentiating the one like this versus the one that looks like this. I think we're going to do pretty good there. So I'm going to work on getting this skin on here just as the first step. So right away we know which is which, and then we are going to go through a few of the apps and things that I use for streaming that will be very beneficial to you going forward. If you don't already use them for something else, maybe you'll just use them differently. Who knows? We'll find out as we go on. I do have to ask you guys one little favor before I do put the skin on, and don't tell my wife that I stole her hairdryer again, because I need to be able to heat this up in order to be able to put on the skin, and I'm not sure she would appreciate that very much. And I know she doesn't watch my videos, so I think we're going to be okay. I'm putting the skin on. I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about this handheld because it actually is pretty impressive in a lot of ways, and I know it got a lot of flack when it first came out because people thought it was underpowered, but people also don't understand that that is not the point of streaming handhelds. They don't need a lot of power. So let's start off. It does have an Android operating system, which is pretty awesome. It also has a 7-inch IPS 1920 by 1080 display. It has a 16 by 9 display at 60 Hertz. This is rocking the Snapdragon 720G octa-core processor, which is at 2.3 gigahertz. Not actually a bad processor at all for stream gaming, and I think we learned that here since the handheld has come out. Its ROM is only 64 gigabytes, so it definitely could use a little help in this department, and you're probably going to want to put a memory card in there, which we'll get at here in a minute. The speakers are actually stereo high voltage. I don't know what the high voltage means, but I'm just guessing that that means that it's amped, and it does have a dual mic with echo controls, so if you don't want to use a headset, you can get away with, for the most part, talking through the handheld to the people you're playing with in a game like Call of Duty and just hearing all the audio out loud. The sticks and the triggers are both analog, which is nice to see. It would be nice to see a revision to this and put some TMR sticks in this in the future, but analog triggers is kind of the route that we like to go. The memory is expandable with a micro SD card, which is fantastic. The only problem is that it is in FAT32 format, and if you're not familiar with that, that means your file sizes have to be a little bit smaller. Unfortunately, that means that you're not going to be putting big Switch games on here. But on a side note, the bigger the Switch game, the harder it's going to be to run anyways. And your indies and your RPGs, which do run best on here, tend to be lower file sizes to begin with. So it's not that big of a deal. Let's remember this was not made for emulation, but it was actually made for streaming. So you can get away with some emulation, but for the most part, it's going to be made for streaming. So you can do some of that Switch emulation. You can do a little bit of PS2, GameCube, but it's not going to be the difficult stuff. It does have a whole bunch of sensors on it, including linear haptics. It does have a 6-sensor IMU, and it does have an ambient light sensor, which is always nice to keep that backlight to the correct lighting so you're not wasting a lot of battery. It does come rocking 2.4 and 5 GHz Wi-Fi as a 2x2 MIMO, and it does have Bluetooth 5.1. Its output, which is new to this, is 1080 Type-C display out. The display out is something that this did not come with, and they later added, and they continue to focus on and revise, and it's getting better and better. I can tell you that this works through a dock that I have with an HDMI out. Even the Ethernet works on there, and they did just add a little Ethernet logo as well if you are hooking up to Ethernet. It does have a 3.5mm audio jack, and you can also get audio through the Type-C port. So you can do Type-C audio conversion. It does have a battery that's 23.1 watt hours, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you're probably thinking most things in watt hours are actually, you're comparing to like a Windows handheld. In this, you are going to get 12 plus hours of playtime, and I can contest that that is absolutely true. I tend to charge my handheld maybe once a week, twice if I'm really pushing it, but I tend to play this about 2 hours every night in bed, and I'm streaming high-end games like Call of Duty, Indiana Jones, things like that, so it does a very good job with the battery life, better than any other handheld that I own at this time, which is kind of impressive with having a 7-inch screen. Now we're just going to finish setting this up, putting in your information, making sure everything is good to go. Interestingly enough, on the G Cloud, for some reason, it automatically assigns onto things like my Xbox account, which is totally fine because I don't have to worry about it, but it is weird. I don't know if it's just because I already have a Logitech account or whatever. But this is just like setting up any other device, and you can choose whether you want Google Assistant or any other crap to work. I don't use it for any of that, so for me personally, I don't. I'm going to start in handheld mode just because it's going to highlight that it needs a software update, and that software update is going to give you some of these goods, like the 1080 out and stuff like that. And up in the upper right-hand corner, you do have that software update. Now, I will speed this up a little bit because it will take a while to do this update, and so you don't have to sit around and wait for me this entire time while we do the update. So just confirm it. You're going to do a reboot in there, and then we're going to get back in. And then once we get back in, we're actually going to go into the Google Play Store, and we're going to tell it to update all the apps. There are some exclusive apps here, which is really interesting, and I have to do a little bit more research, but Xbox Cloud Gaming app has gone away, the beta app, and now it's on the Logitech G Cloud, and it acts differently than the old beta app did. This is another thing they added too, is the Cloud Hub thing. It tells you instructions on how to do everything I'm telling you how to do right here. So if you miss something, just go in there, you'll have it. But yeah, 21 updates here, and then we'll go in and we'll add a couple of the streaming apps for PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, things like that. Steam is on here by default, so is Xbox, but I have some other apps that work really well. So we have PXPlay, which is actually PSPlay, but they just renamed it, so you might have to look for PSPlay instead of PXPlay like I did. We do have the XBPlay too, which is the XBXPlay. Same thing, actually, that's the first app I ever had in that category. And then we have XBPlay. And all these do something a little bit different than the Xbox app do or the PlayStation app. PXPlay will actually allow you to stream your PS4 or PS5 anywhere in the world, essentially, that you want to go. SyncThing also, if you do use SyncThing, now use the fork. SyncThing stopped supporting Android, so there's a lot of forks out there for it. And actually, you're better off not doing the one that I did. Just go to the GitHub, search at GitHub for SyncThing fork, and you're going to be better off getting the fork that way than the way that I did it. We'll go through here through the menus, so you have your Bluetooth, stuff like that. You can change your brightness in here. I don't use the G Cloud Hub very often, so it's kind of interesting when I come in here. There's a battery percentage status bar. You can look at change your controllers. And then here in the labs, you can enable key mapping. There's some other things you can enable. If you continue to scroll down, that's where the 1080 out mode and things like that are going to be. So on PXPlay, you just have to go in, enter your account information. It will sync up to your PlayStation. Now, I'm having network issues right now. For some reason, I can't get any of my stuff to sync correctly. But Xbox worked, so we went into there. So this is the XBPlay, and this will actually let you cloud stream 1080 off of your Xbox, where the Xbox app, when you do it, does not. So you'll get higher resolution doing it this way through the XBXPlay. It's weird names, I know, and they're all so similar, but the XBXPlay, it's 4 little controller buttons on a green background. That one will give you the best video clarity. And again, you can dial in anywhere in the world. So you can have a game in your Xbox as well, and it will play it. Same with the PXPlay, it will allow you to do the same things. Same guy or company or whatever, same developers for both of them. They have very similar features, and the nice thing about the PXPlay is you don't need to have a portal and you don't need to have a PS5 for it to work. So, and it gives you more options than the original PSPlay app that is available from PlayStation themselves. So we got Steam on here too. Steam and Moonlight are pre-installed, Steam Link and Moonlight, but I did update them. This is running it through Moonlight, and I have Moonlight set up for big picture mode if I want to, or I can do PC background. So this is just big picture mode. It opens up Steam on my computer, and you know what? It works really well. And I'm running a mini PC that I use for gaming. So this computer is dialed into as a mini PC, and it works just fine. No latency, anything like that. So, and that's home or away. It works really well. Obviously, home the best. And then what we'll do is we'll actually sign into the Steam app as well. And that's what I'm doing here, just getting it all set up. You put the code in and everything for pairing. We'll go in through the Steam Link and I'll show you how that works. And this obviously is going to work a little bit better than doing it through Moonlight. You're kind of emulating to emulate just to play natively. Where here, you're just kind of more or less pushing the signal. With this one move, I couldn't hit. I don't know if it's just dumb luck, but I couldn't hit it. And then I went into Steam and I hit it just fine. Now, there has been some questions about how this will do with playing native Android games. And so I thought, let's take this opportunity and just throw a couple of them in here just so you can see how native Android actually does play on this handheld. And you can use the controllers, which is great. So we'll just jump in a game here real quick, and maybe we'll try another one too. In fact, you know what? I might even show you something pretty cool here. Oh no, what happened? Wait, we gotta go this way. I forget about this, controls. And we wanna use gamepad. You do have the option. Now we could have mapped it too. So like say you wanna use your analog triggers for your gas and your brake. That is an option. It is weird that it doesn't do it on this because most of my handhelds it actually does do that. But as you can see, oh man, I am not playing well here. As you can see, it works just fine. So hitting the brakes, I keep hitting the nitrous. Whoops. And this feels really good. Just the controls and stuff on this are so good in comparison to a lot of the other handhelds that I have. It does have this like teardrop on the back, which works out really well. Now we'll stop it here. So there is this teardrop design on the back. Really does give it a lot of the comfort that's in this. And actually I like it to be a little bit thicker, which is why I have a case on the other. I do have a case for this one, but now that I have this back on here, I'm not exactly sure I want to use it. Now before we go into this next game, we're going to look at what we have set up for our, if we have key mapping turned on. We just want to verify that it's on. So we're going to go in here and then we're going to go down here to the lab, which is under home screen. We did turn on key mapping when we were going through stuff before. Now, if you continue to scroll down, you will also see your TV out. So this talks about connecting the TV cable, the external on this. You do need some sort of adapter or dock or something like that in order to do it, but it's going to be like a Type-C to HDMI, you know, nothing real crazy. And then you can have it so when you're playing on the TV, the brightness on this turns down because it's pretty much mirroring it. So the brightness on this would turn down while it's hooked up to play on the TV. I'm just going to leave it off for now, but we do have key mapping turned on. So we're actually going to jump in here on Call of Duty. So Call of Duty supports Xbox and PlayStation controllers, not Switch for some reason, but does support Xbox and PlayStation controllers. And so there's a couple of tricks you can do here. So you can do some key mapping, and my recommendation with that would be to go into the boot camp or a practice round and do key mapping that way. So that is definitely an option for you if you want to play Call of Duty Mobile and you just want to key map. Now, I should come out with a chart because I do this on every handheld. I never finish putting it together exactly how I want it key mapped. I might come up with some kind of like picture or whatever graph to show you kind of where to put everything, or myself even, which is weird because right now the controls were working up to that point, but then now they won't work. This is just how Call of Duty is. So I would recommend going in and doing like a boot camp level essentially, and you can do that. I don't remember how, but I did it yesterday. All right, so let's do this. So we'll go here to boot camp, and this is where I'm working on the key mapping. I'll show you kind of how to set it up, and then you can kind of figure out how you want it on your own because no two people really like it the same. But again, I think I might eventually come out with an image that'll have kind of where I like to map everything, kind of give you just something to base it off of. But see, now I've got these set up on here, and all they're doing is moving these down here. So as you can see on the screen here, but the way you do this is you pull up the key mapping tool, and I'll show you that right now. One thing I haven't figured out yet is these are a little loosey-goosey, and there is a way to change the resistance on them, but as far as algorithmically, but I just haven't figured out exactly how tight or loose they need to be. But you hit the home button here, hold it, and then you're going to get this here, and if you have key mapping turned on, you will get this option, and you can see there's key mapping for this game setup right here. So we'll hit OK, and then we're going to go down to configure key map. So this is where I have all my stuff right now, and you can move all this stuff wherever you want. just a matter of getting it all kind of lined up the way that you want it. So that's what I'm working on right now. So I've got this D-pad, you know, this over the other one, and you might want it a little bit forward, so it goes forward there. My L3 and R3, so I'm trying to set up a run, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. I do have like the reload buttons and stuff like that. I got crouch over here. You know, these are all important things to be able to have in there. So this is one way to do it. And then we are playing, we have some of that stuff, but like my run, I can't get it to run, and it also always wants to, so it should be the L3 button like it normally is, but it's just not working. But what you can do in this case, like since I have to run and I don't have a choice and I'm crouched for some reason, is you can just bolt here and then you can bolt right here and then slide, because it's making me slide and crouch. So now I need to go back this way. Everything else seems to work. I don't know, it's the running and a couple other things I'm having an issue with, but everything else is set up pretty well for me. And these are obviously, so horizontal is really bad and vertical is kind of sloppy too. Now you can change that within Call of Duty. So if you go to settings here, you can actually change this, which is what I eventually will get done and I'm working on right now. If you go in your controller sensitivity, you can go through here and kind of get all that taken care of. But right now it's in a custom because I've been trying to go through and change my horizontal and vertical sensitivities to get it somewhere that it needs to be. Now there is another trick to Call of Duty that I've not seen this work on anything else other than the G Cloud, and that would be if we close it, we are going to go into connected devices. So now we have a Xbox controller. It's all working, right? So now I couldn't get this to work in the other mode, so we're going to do it on this side over here. I always forget how this one works. Okay, and then we're going to go for Call of Duty Mobile. So we're already connected, right? But we're not on the side of the tablet where we would A, have interference with our touch controls that we had already set up for Call of Duty, and B, we don't have all the other stuff that Logitech has built in interfering with this either. So we should, in theory, get a better connection, but we're going to find out if it works or not. But my goal here is to be able to not actually have to touch the controller, but use its profile as your controller while playing Call of Duty Mobile, which means you'd have to have the controller hooked up, but then you don't have to worry about the profile. And right now the controller is just sitting right here, so let's put it right there, and we'll see what happens here. So now as you can see, I'm using the Xbox controller as my controller, and the cool thing about this is this gives me the ability to, the G Cloud actually registers the Xbox controller for you then in games like Call of Duty, so I don't have to use key mapping. And I don't know of any other handheld that does this. I'm sure there are other ones that do this, but this is just something that I know is unique to this. I don't have touch input key mapping on the tablet side of the G Cloud. It's just not available. It's only when you're actually on the G Cloud side. And so when I switch here, it actually thinks I still have the Xbox controller, and it allows me to play the game. Now the problem with this is the controls are so touchy on the G Cloud in comparison to the Xbox, which are really tight. So you end up facing the ground most of the time when you shoot because the gun's too powerful. No, I don't know what it is, but you end up going straight to the ground almost every time you touch any buttons when you shoot, unless you're shooting directly at something. But when I go back in and I'm like, oh, I want to get back on my controller, which I can't see. The screen is so far away from my face, but I have the ability to do it. Okay. Well, now you can see that. I hope that at least helps you a little bit on what apps to put on for some of your streaming stuff. I gave you a couple different ways to stream PlayStation, to stream Xbox, a couple different ways to stream Steam, as well as some Moonlight experience where you can just go in and you can do anything you want really off your computer. Even if you want to run emulators, like if I've got RetroArch on my mini PC that I'm using to stream off of, it'll work off of there. Amazingly enough, on the mini PC I have, it will play Cyberpunk 2077. Unfortunately, there was like a 90 gig update when I was trying to play it. That's not important right now. But what is important is that maybe we all learned something and we all got to hang out together. Those are the important things. No, I'm just kidding. The important thing is that we got to look at some cool tech. I really do use the G Cloud literally on a daily basis. This is my favorite streaming handheld as of right now. As of the last 2 years, it just had its 2-year anniversary, which is awesome. I do have a couple things I'd like to see in a future one. Like you saw how sloppy that was when you're trying to play something like Call of Duty. The controls, you don't notice it during a lot of gaming you do on here, but the controls here are pretty loose. They're not as loose as some of the other handhelds I've used, so you really don't notice it, but you also don't do a lot of precision gaming if you're doing emulation. So they're almost more of like an emulation style joystick where we need more of an FPS joystick, which to me means more resistance, and these just don't have a lot of resistance. But I think that's an easy fix. I'd also like to see Hall effect triggers, and I'd like to see the steps in them. So you have like a 2-step system, or maybe even a locking mechanism on here, so you either have it be on a micro switch or be able to use it for racing. Either one would be fine with me, or both. You know, that would be kind of cool too. I do still need to put a screen cover on here, but I don't want to screw that all up while I was making this video. But that's all I got for today. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share this video with your friends because sharing is caring and we care about each other here. It also helps grow the channel, so I guess that part's pretty important. Thank you Logitech for sending me this G Cloud in order to mess around with. I am going to do some more messing around, and maybe it'll be a different skin on it next time you see it. Maybe it'll be the other one I ordered that I never received. We'll see. And dock and things. Maybe I'll do an accessory video next. I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff on the way, and the only thing that showed up was this skin right here. Either that or I'll put it in a post. I don't know. You guys will get to see what it is anyways, and I'll let you know how it works. But don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share this video with your friends because sharing is caring, and we care about each other here. It also helps grow the channel, which, I mean, that's kind of important too, but not as much as caring about each other. Also, if you're bored, or even if you're not, check out one of these videos up on the top that YouTube put up there. They say you like it. I don't know. They're pretty convinced you're going to like it, and they don't miss very often. So I'd have to go with them and say, yeah, you're probably going to like it. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.